Hello, and thank you for joining today's webinar about the employment section of your online tax return. Before we start today's webinar, I'll just mention that this webinar is part of a series that will help you with your self-assessment tax return. These are the titles of the other webinars in the series. You can find out when these webinars are running and about other products to help you with your tax return on our HMRC email updates, videos and webinars for self-assessment page on gov.uk. In today's webinar, we'll look at employment records you'll need, the employment page of your tax return, showing taxable employment benefits and expenses, claiming tax relief on work-related expenses, and how to tell us about student loan and postgraduate loan deductions. I'll just mention making tax digital, or MTD, for income tax. From 6th of April 2026, there's a legal requirement to use MTD for income tax for anyone that had self-employment and or property income above £50,000 in the tax year 2024 to 2025. You should already have signed up for MTD for income tax and be using compatible software to record your income and expenses for the current tax year 2026 to 2027. However, the principles of working out your income and expenses remain the same. If you signed up to use MTD for income tax early and started to use it in 2025 to 2026, you'll send your self-assessment tax return for that year, including any other income sources using your compatible software. If you're starting to use MTD for income tax from 6th of April 2026, you need to complete your self-assessment tax return for 2025 to 2026 as normal by 31st of January 2027. The £50,000 threshold is being reduced over the next 2 years to £30,000 and then £20,000. You must sign up to MTD for income tax before the start of the tax year in which you're required to start using it. Find out more about MTD for income tax on gov.uk, in our webinars and our videos on YouTube. I'll briefly explain a few things about the employment section of your tax return. Most people who are just employed with no other income won't normally have to fill in a tax return. However, there are some people who are only employed that must fill in tax returns. For example, if your total income was £60,000 or more in 2025 to 2026 and you need to pay the high income child benefits charge through self-assessment. So, if you've chosen not to pay the charge through your PAYE source of income. If you need to fill in a tax return for other reasons, it's important to include your employment income and the tax you've paid. This is because any tax due is worked out on your total income for the year and not just the income you haven't paid tax on. If you have more than one employment, you'll need to fill in a separate employment page for each employer you had in the year. After completing one employment page, you're given another for the next one. Depending on when you fill in your tax return, answers to the questions on the employment page may already be showing. This information comes from the records your employer sent to HMRC. However, you still need to check the details are correct and amend anything that is incorrect. Let's look at the records you'll need when filling in or checking the answers on the employment page. You'll need your P60 from your employer. You'll only get a P60 from an employer you were with at the end of the tax year. That's the 5th of April. They must give this to you by 31st of May each year. Your P60 may look a bit different to this one, depending on the employer, but the information it contains will be the same. You can also find your pay and tax details in the HMRC app or your online tax account. If you left an employer during the year, you'll need Part 1A of the P45 your employer gives you when you leave. If you received any taxable benefits or expenses, like a company car, van, or medical benefit, you'll need your P11D. Your employer gives you this by 6th of July each year. However, if your employer deals with your benefits through payroll, you won't have a P11D. The benefit is included in your P60 figures. If you're not sure, check with your employer. You also need records for any work-related expenses you're wanting to claim tax relief on. For example, if you're claiming expenses for using your own car for business journeys, you'll need records of the journeys, mileage covered, and any amount reimbursed by your employer. You need to keep these records for at least 22 months after the end of the tax year. Business records must be kept longer. If you send your tax return after the deadline, you must keep your records for at least 15 months after sending the return. Let's look at the employment page of the online tax return. The employer's name will always be completed as you gave this in the Tailor Your Return section. To check or fill in the details for these three boxes, you need your P60 or P45. The employer's PAYE reference in our example is at the top right of the P60. It would be unusual, but if your employer doesn't have a PAYE reference, enter the word none. The next question is asking for the pay from your employer. You need to enter the amount before tax is taken off from the P60 or P45. The P60 tells you to use the figures marked with a star. So, in our example, these are the correct ones. Before entering the figure on your tax return though, it's worth reading the Help About guidance for what to include. It's important you tell us the amount of tax your employer deducted here. If you don't, your tax bill will be higher than you expect. Use the figure marked with a star from the P60 or the figure from your P45. The system will automatically round the figure up to the nearest pound. This is to your benefit. If the tax deducted figure has an R next to it, enter the amount as a minus figure. This shows you've had an overall refund of tax in the year. You may have noticed we missed a question note. This is about benefits you received from your employer that were taxed through payroll. If you're due to make student loan repayments in the year, it's important you tell us in this box the amount of benefits that were taxed in this way. Your employer can tell you the figure if you're not sure, and there's more information in the Help About link. This allows us to correctly calculate the student and postgraduate loan repayments due in the year. Next, we ask about any tips or gratuities you've received in the year. These are taxable income and must be included on your tax return if they're not included on your P60 or P45. Hotels and restaurants often operate a system where tax is deducted before tips are paid to you. You'll receive a separate P60 for these, and you need to complete a separate employment page. If you were a director of this company, you need to answer yes to this question, otherwise answer no. If you answer yes, we'll ask two further questions. The first question asks you to tell us the date you stopped being a director if it was before the 6th of April 2026. If you've not stopped being a director, leave this blank. The second question asks if the company was a closed company. If you're not sure what this means, the Help About link gives a broad description of what a closed company is. This next question is about off-payroll working engagements, sometimes known as IR35 rules. These rules apply if the worker who provides services to a client through their own intermediary would have been an employee if they were providing their services directly to that client. You can find out more about who this applies to in the Help About link, which also gives you a link to more detailed guidance on gov.uk. The last two questions on the employment page are about taxable company benefits and expenses payments you received from your employer and any employment related expenses you're claiming. Examples of company benefits are a company car or private medical insurance provided by your employer. Expenses you may be claiming could include the cost of using your own car for work or expenses for working from home. If you answer yes to either of these last two questions, you'll get an additional page for each question. So let's look at how you tell us about any taxable benefits and expenses on your tax return. This is the page for you to enter your taxable benefits and expenses payment from your employer. There are boxes for each type of taxable benefit you may have received. If the benefit doesn't apply to you, leave the box blank. As we mentioned earlier, the information to complete this page is on your P11D. However, please remember, if your employer dealt with all your taxable benefits through payroll, you won't have a P11D and don't need to fill in this page. The Help About guidance for each box tells you what to include. It also tells you the section and box number on the P11D where you can find the details. For example, if you had a company car or van, you can find the amounts to enter in section F and G, box 9 on the P11D. So these are the boxes on the P11D where you'll find the amount you need to show. We'll now look at claiming tax relief on work-related expenses on your tax return. This is the page for any employment or work-related expenses you're claiming tax relief on. If the expenses were included in your PAYE tax code for the year, you still need to tell us about them on this page. Before we look at filling in the employment expenses page, I'll just give you an overview of what we mean by work-related expenses. If you use your own money for things you must buy to do your job and only use these things for your work, you may be able to claim tax relief, providing the expense is not refunded by your employer. So, this could be things like professional body subscriptions or membership fees, cleaning and maintaining your work uniform, additional household costs if you have to work from home for all or part of a week, buying work-related equipment, travel and overnight expenses, or mileage for using your own vehicle for work purposes, but not for commuting. You cannot claim tax relief if your employer gives you all the money back, or they give you an alternative. For example, they give you a laptop, but you want a different type or model. If they give you some of the money back, you can claim tax relief on the difference. Some things you think you buy for work don't meet the criteria for you to claim them, such as buying a birthday cake for a colleague, a journalist buying newspapers to keep up to date, or pens and paper for your work. You must have paid income tax in the year you're claiming for. The tax relief you get is based on what you've spent and the rate of tax you paid. If you've spent £100 and you pay tax at 20%, the tax relief you'll get is £20. This page on gov.uk has lots of information about claiming tax relief for job expenses. It also explains what evidence you need to keep for each type of expense. You only need to send this if we ask to see it. So, on your tax return, this first box is for any business travel and subsistence expenses you're claiming relief on. This could be travel costs including related meals and accommodation, but not normal commuting costs, the cost of using your own vehicle for business journeys, or business expenses such as phone calls. Enter here any fixed deductions you can claim. These are sometimes called flat rate expenses. They are set amounts HMRC agrees with relevant trade unions to cover the costs of maintaining or replacing tools or special working clothes. If you want to claim the actual cost rather than the fixed rate, leave this box blank and include the actual amount spent in the other expenses and capital allowances box we'll see shortly. If you're a uniformed airline or helicopter pilot, co-pilot, flight deck crew or cabin crew, don't enter an amount in this box. Just use the tick box and the correct amount will be included in your tax calculation. This page on gov.uk has a list of industries, jobs and the agreed amount you can claim tax relief on. Just scroll down the page to find the list. In this next box, you can claim tax relief on professional membership fees you have to pay to be able to do your job, and annual subscriptions you pay to approved professional bodies or learned societies if being a member of that body or society is relevant to your job. You cannot claim tax relief on life membership subscriptions or for professional membership fees and subscriptions you've not paid yourself, for example, if your employer has paid them, payments to organisations that are not approved by HMRC, and payments that are not relevant to your job. You can find a list of approved learned societies and professional organisations on gov.uk. Just search List 3. Although the list is alphabetical, it's worth reading the introduction notes which make it clearer how things are listed. This is where you can enter any other allowable work expenses you've not included above. This could be the cost of buying small items of equipment you need for your job which aren't supplied by your employer, for example, electric drills and protective clothing, or additional household cost if you have to work from home. You cannot claim if you choose to work from home. Please note that from 6th of April 2026, you'll no longer be able to claim tax relief on expenses for working from home. If you meet the rules, you can still claim for the 2025 to 2026 tax year. In the same box, you may also be able to claim capital allowances for larger items such as plant and machinery and computers you use for work, but not vehicles. You can find out more about this on gov.uk. Tell us here any information you feel is needed to support your entries in the employment section, but don't include any figures that should be shown elsewhere or any questions. Don't use the Enter or Return key on your keyboard. There are also limits to the number of characters and some special characters. Check the Help About link for more information. I'll just mention student loan and postgraduate loan repayment. You will only be asked about these if you've been employed during the year and repayments were due. Later in your return, if you're due to make repayment of a student loan or postgraduate loan in the tax year, we ask you to tell us the amount that your employer deducted from your wages. Figures may be showing on this page, but you still need to check they are correct. You would find the amounts to show on your P60. If you changed employers during the year, the amounts will be on your pay slips from the earlier employer. If you don't have them all, contact that employer. There's a YouTube video in the Help About guidance for more information on what you need to show. I'll just remind you that these are our other webinars in this series to help you fill in your online tax return. You can find out when these webinars are running and about other products to help you with your tax return on our HMRC email updates, videos and webinars for self-assessment page on gov.uk. We're nearly at the end of the webinar now. Here's a summary of what we've covered today. In today's webinar, we looked at employment records you'll need, the employment page of your tax return, showing taxable employment benefits and expenses, claiming tax relief on work-related expenses, and how to tell us about student loan and postgraduate loan deductions. If you need more help, our full range of help and guidance can be viewed at any time. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.